So what's it like out there right now? I can only tell you what it's like here in New York, and it is bleak on the streets. Last night I was walking to go get some food, which you're allowed to do. So people tell me, oh, we got to social distance. Trust me. I'm trying to create as much social distance from everybody as I can all the time, but we do have to eat. So I was out and I was walking down 9th Avenue, right near where the Lincoln Tunnel is, one of the main entry and exits into Manhattan, into New York City, the heart of New York City. Really, it drops you right in the middle of the city, and you could have gone for a jog down 9th Avenue for about 15 blocks before you'd even see a car. So it is empty out there right now in a way that I have never before seen in this city, and it's disconcerting. That's to say the least. I walked past businesses. One thing that I've noticed is the businesses that were already small, mostly takeout restaurants, they seem to be doing okay. If it's a really small place that's basically a takeout counter, and I'm sure this is probably true in a lot of towns and a lot of cities that are on some form of lockdown, right? I don't know what it's like elsewhere in the country. In New York, look, we've got the most cases. We got thousands. We're going to end up with, tens of thousands of cases by the time this thing actually passes through, just in New York State, New York City. Most of it's going to be in New York City. So there's going to be more of this here than anywhere else, which is why the race to get enough hospital beds and the race to set up all this stuff is so important in this town right now. But the places that are smaller, that are takeout focused, they're doing okay. Any sit-down restaurants shut down. They're already shut down. Because I don't mean, I know that they can't have full operations because you're not allowed to have gatherings of really more than 50 people you can have here in New York. And they're telling you they really don't want more than 10 people gathered for any reason, any time. Beyond that, I would just say, you recognize very quickly that these restaurants, the bigger restaurants that have higher rent, are the ones that are bringing in basically no revenue. Even if they are allowed to do takeout, they're not running their kitchens, they're not running staff. And I just don't know how long that could possibly be sustainable. Every week is going to become more and more of a problem with unemployment. I know they're sending out these checks, but the truth is, and this is where I start to get highly concerned about the trajectory of all of this, more so than I already am. I don't even know how that's possible, but what we're going to find out pretty quickly is that the government's checks and the full faith and credit of the United States government is really just the American people, right? That we are the economic engine. We are the wealth of this country. The Treasury Department, without us, doesn't mean anything. And if we keep thinking that the way to deal with this is in anything other than the most short-term and immediate sense, to write checks, to backstop this, to backstop that, sure, I know we have to do that. I'm not saying there's any other choice, but we have to make sure that we limit that as much as possible, because if the full faith and credit of the United States government comes into question, then we get into an even scarier scenario than we're currently in. And that's why we need to get these businesses open ASAP. We're also going to head to a point, I think, as a society pretty quickly where not only is there going to be the non-compliance if the continued lockdown happens, but also we are going to see, and I think everyone needs to be prepared for this, and it's tough to say, and we don't want to go there psychologically yet, we are going to see casualties from this daily. We're going to see loss of life happening, and I think it's going to be substantial. And that is going to be the case even if we do everything as best we can at this point, and as a country and as a group, we take this as seriously as we possibly can. You're going to have, 200 deaths a day for a period of time. It's not going to be forever, but you're going to have 200 deaths a day, 500 deaths a day, who knows? That's what Italy is going through right now, and Italy's a much smaller country. Italy's a fifth the size of the United States. Now, we're hopefully learning lessons from Italy. And also, look, I know there's these long shots right now and that's why I started the show with the hopeful. That's why I started the show with therapeutics and the possibility of breakthrough breakthrough science that will save us from having to go through this. But right now, we are on a collision course with all of this. And I've never seen anything like this. No one has. I know there's going to be a lot of times where I say things and say, well, Buck, of course, this is the reality of what we're all in right now. I will say that yesterday I did a Facebook Live with all of you who tuned in, I should say, if you want to. I'm planning on doing another one tonight. And I think the best time for me to do it would actually be right after the WOR show. So if you want to, you can tune in. I'll be doing a Facebook Live at 7 Eastern. And some of you are going to say, Buck, you're on. Well, if I'm on radio that time, listen to me on radio, and you can watch the Facebook Live on playback on Facebook anytime you want. Because as you know, radio is often delayed for different markets, and it's not as easy as just, we're all on at the same time doing the same stuff. But if you can, just check it out. I'll be planning to do it, and I'll try to answer questions. Yesterday, we had a special guest with Tallulah, who has been pretty quiet during the broadcast today. And just so you all understand, it's my parents. We think of her as the family dog, and she really is the Sexton family mascot in a lot of ways. It's my parents' dog, but I'm almost 40, so you can imagine my parents are older than me, by a couple of decades. And so I want to make sure that they are as safe as possible under the circumstances, and that means we're really keeping them in quarantine for their own safety. And so I'm walking the dog, and I'm out there dealing with stuff. The idea that I have 3 siblings, and if I were, God forbid, but if I were to start getting sick, we pass Tallulah on to one of my siblings here in the city, and I would just stay home in quarantine. But this way also my parents stay off the street for as long as there's this heightened level of concern, because we don't have great answers as to how this is really transmitted. I mean, we know that it can be through droplets, it can be through contact. How long does it last in the air? These are all questions we'll probably know more about in the future. I also think that we're going to see an enormous surge of interest in really knowing a lot more about all kinds of viruses and respiratory infections, and no more of this you get a cold, we don't really know that much, and we need money for more stuff like climate change research. No, we need money for this. We need to know this stuff. We need to figure this out. We're now facing what is economic. This is economically an existential threat to the United States. Economically, it is. It is not an existential threat to the American people per se. You look at and I'm not trying to be alarmist here. I see, if we took the worst case scenario here, America would endure and go on, and most of us would survive. A vast majority of us, by the numbers, 99% of us would survive. But economically, this could be years of pain if we do this wrong. I mean, we could head into the D word. We could head into depression, and that's why we need to be very careful with the decisions right now, with the mechanisms that we're using to try to deal with this. Anyway, back to Facebook Live. I'm sorry, guys. We're gonna be all right. I mean, I'm also trying to give a fair bit of optimism here, because I feel like we have to not just pray but wish the best things that we can into existence right now. I am very fortunate that I'm healthy. I'm very fortunate that I'm able to continue to do the show that I do here every day and get to talk to all of you across the country, and that you have so many different ways. The technology is so amazing. We're able to basically do the same show. Those who are wondering, we had a little bit of a technical glitch. So that's why you haven't heard a lot of audio clips today. We'll hopefully have it fixed by tomorrow. That's why you haven't heard the usual Trump cuts and things like that. It's just we're working on some technology stuff to connect us. But you can hear the show on your radio stations, you can hear the show on podcasts, and you can watch it on Pluto TV, even though I'm in a mobile freedom hut, and that's a fancy way of saying I'm doing this from home. I'm doing this show from home, because we all have to be pretty close to a shelter-in-place situation here in New York. They're not calling it that, and Governor Cuomo has been careful to avoid using that specific terminology because it frightens people. But I leave my apartment to get food and to run necessary errands for family members and to walk the dog. That is it. That's it. Nothing else beyond that. So you are my connection to the outside world. And that's why we're also working on trying to set up an online voicemail box where any of you from your cell phone, from your house line, can just call in and leave some thoughts for the show. We want to work more of that in. I have been saying we're going to bring back the History Podcast. I'm going to do a full-length Siege of Malta podcast. It'll be, at least an hour, maybe an hour and a half. So we're going to do that. That'll be I can't give you a date yet, but it's going to happen soon because I need that diversion too. I want to dig into what it was like in the 16th century trying to hold off the most powerful military in the world stuck inside some castle on a tiny island in the middle of the Mediterranean. That's an escape right now from what we're dealing with here. And that escapism and that optimism that we have is really, really important. Oh, wow, I just found out something very interesting. Dr. Fauci, according to one of my brothers, Dr. Fauci, who you're all seeing everywhere, went to my high school. He's a Regian, as we say. He went to Regis High School in New York City. Who knew? I did not know that. The guy is, becoming a national hero right now with all the work that he's doing and everything else that he's got going on. It's a great place. For those of you in the New York area, you might know the school, but it's a place that, is really, it really upholds a lot of what's best about education and has done so now for over 100 years. All right, so what are some of the things that we can talk about, though, that aren't just the focus on the disease and fighting the disease? How do we keep ourselves occupied? That's why I'm talking to you about doing the podcast. That's why I'm talking to you about other ways that we can reach out to each other, because we're in this for weeks, definitely. We're going to be in this situation of national focus on this. There's no professional sports coming back anytime soon. Also please do take this opportunity to pass the buck. People that, want something to do other than play video games and watch TV, give them this podcast. Tell them to just go on Spotify, go on Apple Podcasts, type in Buck Sexton, and just start listening to the show. I think we do a very good job here. With producer Mark and the rest of the team, we do a very good job bringing you all the information you need, but also presenting it in a way that is easy and listenable and works in some other things. And to that end, I want to make sure that we focus on some of the things that we can do during this state of, relative quarantine, during this period of social distancing that will both keep us sane, entertained, and maybe even allow us some opportunities for self-improvement. And the biggest one that comes to mind is reading. I know I gave you the recommendation today because, look, I don't read as much as I'm reading all the time. I don't read as much as I want to because most of what I read now is for this show, which I love, but it's very hard for me to take an hour or two a day, which is what I would really realistically just like every day to read for an hour, whatever I want to read, instead of what I have to read. So I'm already reading probably 4 hours on average a day to do this show. And I'm doing 4 hours of radio a day, as you know, so that pretty much makes sense. I'm doing an hour of reading for every hour of radio that I've got. So it's 8 hours just to do the radio shows and to prep for them. But I wish I had an hour to just sit down and dive into books, particularly books that I feel like I should have read and have never gotten around to. I mentioned Moby Dick to you. I'm sure most of you have read that, but I want to read it. Never read it. I know the story, and that's fine, but I feel like I should read that book. I told you about the history of the Peloponnesian War with Thucydides, or by Thucydides, the historian of ancient Greece. I think you'll really enjoy that one. I would highly recommend you dig into that. If you want something a little bit more contemporary, Bad Blood by John Carreyrou, which is about, it's a little bit, there's a little bit of the zeitgeist captured in this because it's about blood testing and the blood testing agencies in this country and science and medicine. And so it doesn't have to do with pandemic disease, but, it's an interesting read, I think, particularly right now, given that we're really reliant on some of these companies in the private sector that do all this testing as part of a major part of our response to this pandemic. So I would say read Bad Blood by Carreyrou. The $1 Billion Whale I read, I kind of like it. Shackleton's Endurance. Just read, the book is Endurance. It's about the Shackleton voyage. If you have not read that book, you're going to curl up, and it moves. Once you get into it, it moves almost like an action adventure movie. I mean, it's amazing. Great read that you will really enjoy. I assure you will really, really like it. So I would check that one out. If you have any great recs for me, by the way, please send them along. I'm going to have more time now to read books that you recommend than I've had in a while. Although, if you want me to do the Siege of Malta podcast, that's going to, the Buckster's got some busy work to get to now. And also, I really hope you will take this opportunity. Some of you probably don't do that much social media interaction with folks. You can write to us here on the show on Facebook very easily. We would love to be able to have you following on Instagram as well. So please, Buck Sexton on Instagram. You can post your favorite cat photos there, and I'll see them. I'll post Tallulah photos. So let's use this opportunity, team, to be as in contact digitally as we can, because we're all separated from each other physically, and there's a sense of isolation that's going to creep into all this, and we are a great cure for that, what we do here and all of you. So let's keep that going. If there's one silver lining that I might be able to find in all this, it's that now that I'm actually taking care of a dog all the time, which I haven't done in a long time. Really, I've never been fully in charge of a dog for this long. I've taken the dog maybe for a day, but it's been now a few days, and it's probably going to be a few weeks. I think I got to get one. I love dogs. It's amazing. Having a French bulldog here is great companionship at a time when I think we could all use a little bit of that. I live alone. I'm a single man. I have a girlfriend, but I don't have a wife, and I don't have kids. So having a little Frenchie here to keep me company is pretty cool. She can be a little bit demanding, as I've told you all. And if you join me on the Facebook Live later, you'll probably get a little special view of her. But she's a lot of fun, and it's important to have some little being around you, I think, right now, because we have all these screens and all these distractions around us. But human connection is different from the distraction that these devices can be. It's great when I can reach out. I can FaceTime my parents. I've been talking to my sister and my brothers. That is human connection enabled by technology. But, just like you can only binge watch so many episodes on Netflix before you need some contact with humanity, or in this case, with, I guess, the animal kingdom. Sorry, Tallulah, technically you don't count as a person. I know that's a horrible thing to say, but she's a canine. She's my little person. She's wonderful. So I think I'm going to get one. I think I'm probably going to get an English bulldog at some point. I've been saying it for a while, but now, maybe this crisis, we're all going to have a lot of things that'll be almost like New Year's resolutions when this is all done. And I got to get married, and I got to get a dog. So I think, and obviously kids after getting married would be nice, but I think an English bulldog would be great. So that's my right now, I don't know, pandemic lockdown silver lining is that I think I'm ready for a dog. So that would be a lot of fun. And I think a little snorty English bulldog would be great. All right, we got roll call. Everybody, man, it's nice to get a chance to read your thoughts, share your thoughts. We all need, we need each other these days, team. We need our shields high. That is for sure. If you want to be a part of the action, facebook.com/Buck Sexton, or you can email us, teambuck@iheartmedia.com. As I said before, if you're not already, please do follow on Instagram. I'll be posting more on there. I'll be trying to use as much social media as just a means of giving, more content and being in closer contact with the team. So, Instagram is a fun place to exchange stories, and you can send the show messages there as well. So it's just Buck Sexton on Instagram, and you'll see my face with a little beard on it. There you go. All right, Sam is first up. He writes, "Hey Buck, I've been listening for about 6 years, I believe. I'm in the Army and listen to you while getting ready for work or unwinding at the end of the day. You mentioned the history shows you did in the past. I would really enjoy if those were returned, or if you returned those into service. Continue the good work. Shields high." Sam, I obviously you read my mind, my friend, because I think we are going to we're going to do a full-on Siege of Malta podcast. I think it's time for that. So that will be, and if that does well, if people like it, if they download it, if we'll see the numbers, it's all digital, then we'll do another one. I can't end with the fall of Constantinople. Come on. No way. So we'll do the Siege of Malta, and then we'll probably get into the Siege of we'll go Malta. Maybe it's time to redo Lepanto. maybe the time has come for a full redo of Lepanto. Maybe that's 2 episodes or 3 episodes of podcast all on one topic. That's a possibility. So we will bring the history shows back. It's going to be a lot of work for me, but what else am I going to do? I'm stuck here. Jonathan. Hey, the only thing I'll ask, team, is if I bring back a history show, because that's just going to be extra. That's going to be in addition to the 4 hours a day of radio I'm currently doing, and I'm really just doing it. Like, I just do this stuff. I got producer Mark helping run the board, play clips, doing producer stuff. But in terms of the radio side, it's just, you're looking at it, man. It's just me. So if I do that history podcast, I am going to ask you to really, because that's not political. So you should be able to share that with anybody and be like, hey, check this out. It's kind of cool. It's a guy talking about a history thing. And that would be great to see some real numbers on that. Jonathan. Hey, Buck, I'm a relatively new listener from Charleston, West Virginia. Love the show. So far, we don't have a confirmed case of Wuhan virus in our state. Nevertheless, we are still out of toilet paper. I do believe that this is being hyped up in the media because the Dems have no other option for November. Either way, I'm still careful for other people's sake who may be in danger from this. I do consider it like the flu, though I know it's not. I know the flu most likely means nothing to my own health, but it still kills thousands elsewhere. I'm optimistic, but still cautious. So, Jonathan, a few things. I think cautious but optimistic is a very sound place for you to be on this. So I totally support that. I think that's good. Good move. Stay with that. And I would say... obviously at this point, you sent me this. It turns out that West Virginia, I believe, just did get their first confirmed case of coronavirus, which means there'll be more cases there. So there's going to be more of this in every state, and we all need to be psychologically, mentally, emotionally prepared for that. And as for you being a new listener and listening to West Virginia, man, thank you so much. I really appreciate it, and it is an honor for me that all of you. And the team is large. The team started out, it was like a team, like we could have like a basketball team. There was just like maybe like 12 of us or something. And now the team was quite large. But every single one of you who listens, who cares about what we do, and who supports it, I cannot ever express to you how thankful I am and how truly wonderful the gift is of your attention and your willingness to be a part of what we do here in this community. So I can never thank every single one of you who listen. I cannot thank you enough. Aaron, we live in Sheridan, Wyoming, in a small town of about 900. We have to go to Sheridan to shop, which I did today. No toilet paper in any store. Most of the frozen food is gone. Canned food aisle is empty. I couldn't even find any puppy chow for my daughter's pup. People here probably socially distance themselves more than most folks around the country normally. But aside from the stores, things have slowed down around here. At least we can still buy ammo. I heard in some places ammo sales are suspended. People here, me included, really thought this virus would never really touch us. Turns out our country had the first case in the state, also the third. Our schools are closed until the 3rd of, I guess, April or May? I don't know. I do feel lucky we live here. If a store runs out of food, we have rancher friends to buy beef from. I can walk out our back door and shoot a deer or a turkey. We have horses for transportation. I don't know how you live in a city. I feel like people would panic more there and people would get hurt. Anyway, best of wishes to all this through all this madness to you. Well, thank you, Aaron. Being in a city right now is not confidence inspiring. It's not an optimal situation. I think we could all agree on that. And it would be nice. I used to have my grandparents had a place in what we consider upstate New York, which was only 2 hours from the city, but it was rural, where there were turkeys and coyotes and bears and all that stuff right around the house and right in the land on the property that we were on. We don't have that in the family anymore, though, so I'm a New Yorker, man. That's it. I'm just here stuck in the city, and we're hoping that city services hold up and that the authorities, the people in charge, make good decisions. I have seen, probably will address this more tomorrow, I've seen this reporting on some district attorneys, I know in Philadelphia, and also the district attorney here in Brooklyn, saying that they're going to stop prosecuting for certain crimes, including the trespassing and burglary. And I don't know why they would announce that. Cops always have prosecutorial discretion, and if we're in the middle of a pandemic, Yeah, maybe you're not going to get somebody for trespassing in like an abandoned house or something. You're going to say, hey, get out of here. You're not going to process them and arrest them. But I don't know why you'd announce that, except there are people who are going to try to use this moment in time. They're going to try to leverage their own political desires. They're going to do what they can to use this moment of fear and try to get stuff done or try to get things their way. And that's definitely happening. You're seeing it with the talk of criminal justice reform, specifically in hospitals. I'm sorry, in prisons, not hospitals, where people are saying that because of the condensed nature of prison life or high density living, you need to let a lot of people out of prison. Okay, well, who are we letting out of prison exactly? And especially at a time when people are already so worried and there's such a combustible possibility in society. I mean, look, I'm not trying to be alarmist, but this could turn into civil disorder. This could turn into very bad stuff that really isn't about a virus necessarily. It can turn into other things, these second and third order effects that I'm not sure the government is in any position to handle right now. So we'll see. But yeah, no, being out on a ranch right now where you have access to fresh milk and turkeys and deer and as long as you got electricity and fresh water and you got your own land, and it seems like you're in really good, even without electricity, you'd probably be okay. But yeah, here in New York, man, we are city creatures. Andrea, evacuated from our embassy abroad, just got to the U.S., self-quarantine a hotel, can't see anyone, delivery services and restaurants are shutting down. My hubby had to stay behind at the embassy. Team Buck, send some love my way, please. Well, Andrea, we are sending you a big virtual hug. I'm so sorry that you are separated from your hubs. And, I know that we couldn't even hug you if we could see you right now because, social distancing. I don't know what embassy you evacuated from, but yeah, we're pulling all people back into the United States right now, all of our own. And I'd much rather be here than anywhere else as an American, that's for sure. I mean, with the possible, U.S. military base abroad, okay, I'd feel pretty safe there too. But an embassy is just a building that the foreign government lets you stay in. It's not U.S. soil really. I know people say, oh, it legally is U.S. soil, but it's not. So I'm glad you're back. I'm sure your hubs will be fine. Give us updates as you can, and hopefully we'll be able to give you some additional listening entertainment with the podcast, the history podcast we'll put out soon. Matthew, hey Buck, thanks for keeping the Freedom Hut going. Down here in North Carolina, they've closed down all grade schools for 2 weeks and have shut down major college campuses to transfer classes to online learning. My job is offering 2 weeks off with pay in the event of a statewide quarantine. That's the North Carolina update, Buck. God bless you, and remember, your fans love you. Well, Matthew, you guys don't love me as much as I love you. I can assure you of that. That sounded a little weird, didn't it? It's like a Hitch. I saw the movie Hitch a little bit last night with Will Smith, where he's just like, I know you don't love me as much as I love you, but I just really like the girl that he's dating. There's a flashback from, I think, college, and when he's at Columbia University, the character's at Columbia University, and he's saying, I don't love you, or you don't love me as much as I love you, but that's okay. You never want to say that to anybody. You want equal love. You never want to say I love you more. But anyway, I love you guys who listen to the show, so thank you very much. And as for your 2 weeks off with pay, I mean, this is what I'm saying. We can handle 30 days as a country, I'm saying, for individuals who are panicked because they don't have funds to pay. I get it, guys. I'm not saying anybody can handle this easily at all. But as a country, we come together, take care of people. We can do it for 30 days on pretty much the lockdown we're on right now. We could do it for 30 days. We could maybe extend that to 60. At 90 days on full-on lockdown with people not going to work, not doing their jobs, and things start to get scary. That's my assessment. So all this, the talk that you're seeing, people say, oh, we're going to be dealing with this. We might be losing people to coronavirus for 18 months. We're not in lockdown for 18 months. No way. We can't sustain ourselves, can't sustain the society. There's just no way. So you'll have, like I said, mass disobedience. That's what would be coming. Julie, let's say all goes well, and maybe after 8 weeks, we go back to normal. A few months go by, and since you can't fool Mother Nature, the virus rears its ugly head again. Are we going to socially distance and shut the economy down again? If so, how many times? In my humble opinion, I think we may just be putting off the eventual inevitable. Julie, you raise a fair point, which is that some of the modeling that we've seen indicates that the plan that people have is for there to be a series of shutdowns, flatten the curve, restart, shut down, flatten the curve, restart. That's not going to fly. We're not going to be able to, that's not going to work. So we'll just have to see. We'll just have to see. I think we're giving them all we can right now. We're trying to obey as much of the government mandates as we can. But eventually, necessity will just take over, and there won't really be this possibility of obeying these mandates and these dictates for much longer. And as I gave you my timeline already for what I think it is. And yes, this virus, if we don't have great therapeutics, we're not going to have a vaccine. If we don't have great therapeutics for this by the fall, it's probably going to come back, and that's going to be a problem. I don't know how exactly we handle that. So I wish I had all the answers. I only have some of the answers today. Jeremy Buck, what are your thoughts on pushing for tighter border security in light of the so-called Wuhan pandemic? I don't think the DNC will be able to defend illegal immigration and the porous borders when this whole thing has passed. Also, the grocery stores only have skim milk and unsalted butter as of today. This sounds like Ron Swanson's nightmare. Shields high. Well, let me do these in reverse order, Jeremy. First off, sorry about the skim milk, because as Ron Swanson would tell you, it is water that's lying about being milk. Unsalted butter, I feel like, is okay. Is that really that bad? I don't know. Can't you just add some salt to your butter if you got salt? I don't know. I'm not that worried about that one. As for tighter border security, down the line, I think we're going to have a very different conversation, a national conversation about when people say things like border security is national security. It's going to be a lot harder for left-wing open borders, Soros-funded lunatics to say, oh, that's racist. No, it's not racist. It's true. Secure borders are part of national security interests of the United States. All right, roll call continuing here. Let's see what we've got. And like I said, folks, please do, if you've never written in before, now is the time. We're all stuck at home, or not all of us, but a lot of us are stuck at home. A lot of us are working remotely or just dealing with family all day long. So use the Freedom Hut as your outlet. Reach out, talk to us, tell us what's going on, tell us how you're doing. And we always appreciate hearing from you. Tracy writes, thank you for continuing to broadcast. Your show yesterday was great and provides a bit of normalcy. Well, Tracy, it's normalcy for me too. I mean, I look forward to this every day. One problem I have with my job is that I love my job so much, and I enjoy being in contact with all of you who are part of Team Buck so much that, even during vacations, I like a vacation once in a while for a few days, but after 3, 4, 5 days of vacation, I'm usually like, wonder what the team's up to now. Time to get back on the radio. So that's just how I feel about it. But I do appreciate that you appreciate it. Bethany, Trader Joe's outside Boston has shelves stocked at opening. This is where I'd go in NYC if you can. Lots of gluten-free items. Good luck. Well, thank you, Bethany. Yeah, our supply chain so far is okay, everyone. There really is no need for panic over that. We can feed ourselves. We're going to be all right in that regard. Joseph, Buck, I love the show. I listen to you on iTunes while cooking dinner. Perfect. It's a great way to do it. I told my wife last night that you speak to my conservative soul. As far as working out at home, look into the TRC straps. It's suspension training using your body weight. It's great for someone like me whose knees are eaten up with arthritis. Okay, Joseph, I will check that out. Thank you. I've been trying to get free weights, dumbbells. Sold out everywhere. Can't get any delivered for like 2 months. And hopefully in 2 months, I'm not going to need to have my own pair of dumbbells because I'm going to have a gym that I can go to, right? But I don't know. We'll figure that one out. Kim writes, love listening to you. Keep up the good job of telling the truth. Sorry you're in isolation, but you have a fantastic, beautiful companion to be with you. She looks like a real sweetheart. She is. She's great. You need to tell people to check out the Bible and that they need to read and bring God back into their lives in this sick world. Sad that the churches are closing at this time. No, Kim, I agree. And actually, I've been thinking that I'm going to spend some time reading the Bible. I really mean that. So it would be a good way to do it. Zach, hey, Buck, wanted to thank you for the podcast. The self-imposed quarantine has been rough. I'm in my senior year at college. I was really looking forward to going back and spending the last 8 weeks with friends before commissioning. Sadly, as you know, all classes are online, even our graduation is. I just want to say thank you. Your podcast has really helped me get through the long days. I'm usually out and about. Would love to see a Buck recommended reading list. Keep up the great work. And thank you so much, man. I really do appreciate that, Zach. All of you. This is the highlight of my day now. Every day. It usually is, but now especially. Because other than this, I'm just doing more research and more work to get this show done. You all, we are in this together. We are in the trench together. We are on the front line together. Shields high.